everybody. Welcome to Fandom Access. Tonight is Tuesday, June 18th. I'm your co-host, Karen. Jamie should be here momentarily. Unfortunately, we're going to be without AJ tonight. I think he had to work, and he's just going to be taking this week off. Jamie's having a little trouble logging in for some reason. So I'm going to text her. I'm on the air. We got a full show tonight. We got, I think, 5 shows we're going to talk about. Probably without AJ here, we'll probably just give a little quick touch on House of the Dragon. As usual, we're going to talk about Doctor Who, the Acolyte, Interview with the Vampire, the Lazarus Project, Dark Matter. Is that it? Is that all we talk about? Here she is. Here's Jamie. Hiya.
Hi. I don't know why it's showing the wrong date on the not switchboard, whatever you want to call it. It was showing the 14th instead of the 18th. I don't know why. Maybe 14th. It's on. Yeah, maybe it's on my end. I don't know. I'm on an iPad. It might just be something weird it's showing, but it took me a second to figure out that was the right one because I saw live. So
yeah, that's weird. The 14th was last Thursday, right?
Yeah. So I have no clue, but there we go.
So, well, welcome. I was just telling our vast audience that AJ's got the night off tonight. I think he is working.
Yeah,
so it's just you and me.
Yeah, and Ark's there. Yay.
Hi, Ark. We missed you last week, Ark. Good to have you back on air or in the chat with us tonight. We've got we've got some viewers watching us from X. And we've got somebody joining us on YouTube tonight. So feel free to maybe that's Ark on YouTube. I don't know, but feel free to pop any questions into our chat here, or any comments. And I guess Jamie, we got about 5 shows tonight, right?
Yeah, that was going to be my question for you. I guess we're going to do the full show then, and just AJ can when he comes back.
Yeah.
So what thanks.
There's only one show that's only me and AJ, and it's House of the Dragon. So we'll just table it and talk about 2 episodes next week. The season premiere was this week. It was pretty good, but it's pretty much a setup for the season, you know. Last season had 10 episodes. This year has only 8, and so I hope that they'll be able to cover it all. George R.R. Martin has said that he thinks they need 4 seasons, 10 episodes to cover the whole book. So is HBO giving them enough screen time to do it? I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was going to say before we start, I know that I don't know if it was just announced or what, but we were texting about it earlier about renewal of Resident Alien.
Oh yeah, that's some good news, right?
Yes, that's coming back. Probably will be a while, but at least it will be back. So that's something good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then next week is the season finale of Doctor Who, and then we're gonna have to wait a while again.
I mean, like at least a year, right?
Yeah, at least. Unfortunately.
And I guess we're gonna have to see, we can maybe jump. We usually talk about Doctor Who first anyway, and we could maybe do that. I mean, we've been looking at some, sharing with each other some stories about how the numbers really are good, on BBC. Like they don't, we don't. Streamers don't release numbers, and you don't really know how many people are watching. But there's not, the BBC series is having pretty weak viewership compared to what was available in the past. But of course, Disney wasn't available in the past. So, yeah. Right?
I mean, I can't see it suddenly ending, whether it's got lower viewers or not, because it's still, I think, like their highest rated show or whatever. So I think it's okay for a while, but yeah, hopefully it will pick up. And yeah, Dr. Ark said Doctor Who's been fun this season. It has been fun this season. I just wish there was more episodes. But as always, if anybody wants to join in our discussion on Facebook, YouTube, anything other than X because it sucks, if you leave comments, we'll see them live within the chat of StreamYard. Although to be fair, if you comment on Twitter, I'll probably see it on my phone, but we won't see it in the chat.
Yeah,
but let us know what. Yeah,
they come straight through from YouTube over to us here, right? But they
or
don't
Facebook
or Facebook or anything or Twitch.
Yeah, wherever you're at. So if you have comments or you want to let us know what you think or what you want to hear about or whatever, let us know. All right. Well, let's I guess get into talking about Doctor Who then. So this one was the part 1 of the finale, The Legend of Ruby Sunday. Now, I really liked this episode, but the one thing, and I don't know if I want to say I was disappointed because it's my fault. It's not the show's fault. But through the whole episode, it was like clearly building up that it was going to be something that was on the show before. It sure seemed like it anyway. I'm disappointed because it wasn't something I knew what the hell they were talking about. Is what I'm meaning. I'm disappointed at. Like, I kind of wish it had been a villain that was from the new series because at least I wouldn't have been lost. But that being said, clearly the villain, for anybody who doesn't know, that it is from the classic series. I just haven't seen that far to know that. But I mean, I knew it because I had heard about it, but I didn't watch it or anything. But I like that we finally get, to see Susan Twist. That is her name in the show, Susan Triad. And I also like the thing is, and if you watch, I've said this before, if you watch the Doctor Who Unleashed, it kind of tells some of the behind the scenes things. It seems like I got the impression from what he said that Russell T Davies kind of left it up to the internet to spread some of the rumors. Because it is kind of funny. I thought how and now I don't know because I don't know what you, Karen, or other people listening to me talk right now. I don't know how much you guys read online. I try to, for the most part, stay out of it, and I don't go looking up spoilers. But without even trying to, I've kind of seen when people are leaving messages places talking about how, oh, and we talked about this before, how maybe it's his granddaughter Susan, and although we said because that was the actress's name, that was probably just why people thought that. But then the whole thing with triad is TARDIS, an anagram of TARDIS, that was something that was totally being floated way before the episode. So I thought it was kind of funny that those things were red herrings and they did show up in the episode, even though they weren't actually what it is. So that was kind of cool. But and I'm also glad that we found out that there was a twist and that it wasn't just, oh, he decided to put the same actress in like he lied about. But that was, we kind of expected he was lying when he said that. So
yeah. So I also, Jamie, don't dwell into the fan theories and the boards and the comments and stuff like that. Certainly not the way I used to for certain shows. I just have been sort of, sometimes after an episode I'll read some things, but I'm not into the theories and the boards as much as I was back in the days when we first met. And so I also hadn't been digging into these theories about what was going to happen and who she was or whatever. And so I'm not sure how we want to structure this conversation. It was fun to be at Unit, right?
Yeah,
and to see the whole gang at Unit. And we had pretty much everybody was there. So Kate was there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Rose was there, right? So I guess apparently anybody who's ever been a companion, even for just one trip, now can get a job. That's the main prereq for getting a job at Unit, I guess.
Yeah.
Rose worked there. They did have a new science officer who, I've read that this young man who was kind of delightful is not was more like a sub.
Yeah, the actress who played the other character, I had read she wasn't able to, I guess, do the episode, because I did see people being like, why wasn't she in it and everything. I guess they had, swapped her out, but he did the voice of one of the babies earlier in the season.
Oh yeah.
Too.
Yeah, so Morris, he was a nice visitor, but he's not going to be a regular
Probably not.
at unit, which maybe Rose maybe will be, and oh God, what's her name? Come on, the character who went undercover.
I want to say Bonnie, but I think that's the actress's name.
I think the actress's name is Bonnie, right?
Yeah.
And once I get an actress's name in my head, I can't really
you know that I do that all the time.
That I can't yeah, it'll come to me momentarily. But I thought it was fun, and it does seem like this is this the third it's at least the second, maybe no, I think it's the third episode that we've been at unit. Mel is the name of
Mel.
Yeah, third place Mel. This is at least, I think, the third time we've seen unit since we've been back with Russell T Davies with the 15th Doctor, and so I guess maybe unit's going to be, there's rumors of a unit spin-off series. I don't know how real it is.
I'd be happy with that, but yeah.
By the way, I love this blazer that Mel is wearing in this picture with like sort of the slanty kind of buttons on the single-breasted blazer. That red jacket she's wearing in the picture, I love that. Actually, I love everybody's jacket. They have 3 really good jackets.
Yeah, they do.
So I don't know if this is like setting up unit to be a little more familiar to newer fans, so when they get their series, or if it's just like RTD making them a bigger part of the.
Either way, yeah. I like unit though. I like Kate. I wish they'd bring Osgood back though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I like what they did here too. I like how they had the time window tech, and how they basically made a 3D scan of a moment in time. I thought a lot of this episode was really good. I found the episode very tense, in the best way. Like, I felt like it moved really quick, but I was like, oh, what's next? What's that? I really liked it. Like I said, my only thing is I kind of wish that like the villain was somebody I knew what they were talking about, because you could tell that it was leading up to something big. But it makes me want to go back. Because the only thing I figured out is it did seem like an Egyptian god, Sutek. That was the only thing, is like it made me think of Lost or whatever, but other than that, I don't know. But I like how they did everything. I'm trying to look there and see if I have.
So I don't have a photo. Disney makes limited number of photos available on their press site, and they don't. And I understand why they don't put in any photos that are like a giveaway, right?
Yeah.
Because they go out to press in advance, and they're not going to give us like a huge So right, and so Sutek, right? Am I saying that right? Yeah. God of Death. I don't have a picture of any of that went on with the time window or any of this stuff, right? Yeah. And I also didn't know. I mean, Sutek is not just classic Who, but I think Sutek appeared only in like the offshoot like audio serials and like books and stuff, right?
I don't know. I just was like skimming what I saw on the internet about it, and like I said, I watched that special, except the special didn't really go into it. I think it was trying not to spoil it too, maybe because it was a finale. At
any rate, he was like part of the fourth, maybe he was really in the original Fourth Doctor series, and then later was part of the expanded universe. And anyway, it's kind of like like only if you really know Doctor Who would you know who this villain is.
Maybe that's why, like, that's why I said I'm like hesitant to say disappointed, because it's not my fault. I don't know, that part of the mythology. It's just through the whole episode, it was such a buildup. Like, this is somebody that I felt like this is something we've seen before. Like, I kept waiting for that moment, and then it's like, okay, it was somebody from Doctor Who, but not somebody I knew. So that's kind of why I'm saying I feel that way. Although I did like the idea of how they're showing, and we kind of, I guess, maybe should have picked up on it, how they've been like the god of mischief. Well, I mean, Not that he was actually supposed to be Loki, but I mean, that was kind of what they were referencing when they said that. And then the god of music and everything. And it's like, well, now there's the god of death. And, so those may have been kind of clues that we were, I guess, getting him. I don't know. I saw something on YouTube. I think somebody had guessed it because I didn't watch the video, but I seen something about it going to be Sutekh, and it was like from days before it aired. So apparently people had figured it out or found something. I have no clue. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was good. I agree with you that it moved pretty quickly and there was some good tension, but there really wasn't a whole lot like that made sense. Like this business with the time window was sort of like I almost wouldn't want to rewatch it and listen to it again because I feel like it's one of these Doctor Who things that it all like the doctor says this stuff and it comes out of his mouth and we're like, okay, but really, like, it doesn't necessarily make any sense, right? Like,
see, I don't know. I thought it was cool what they did because they were able to sort of like bring it. I guess it was a way. I mean, I kind of took it that it was supposed to be a way that they could revisit this moment without him actually traveling back to that moment because he makes it, although we know he's broken this rule before, he makes the point of saying they can't go back to this moment. So it was like a way for them to view it. But it kept, what it kept making me think of too, though, is the Weeping Angels, because I kept thinking, is this something like how they say the image of an angel is an angel? Because I just kept feeling like there is something that is going to come from that tape out. And obviously it did. And I thought it was pretty cool how it's wrapped around the TARDIS. And Ark, I guess Ark knows from the classic series, must know who Sutekh is. Yeah, this is why we need to catch up on the classic series, and I wish I had time to go do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I just, so the time window and the VHS and all that, it was kind of cool. Like, I liked them using the VHS, but like when I say it was a little weak, like the doctor gets some really bad dialogue. Like he says, people remember time. Memory is time. And there's this very thin kind of thing that, like, because she remembers that he can recreate it. And I kind of was like, oh my God, memory is like the most faulty thing to rely on. It's like barely admissible, right? Like memories are so wrong all the time. And like what is he even talking about? People, time is memory is time, or whatever. I'm like, what?
Yeah, or maybe not. I more meant like I like the idea of how they took the tape and recreated it in 3 dimensions and were able to like walk around and like look at the different angles and stuff. That's what I thought was cool. Not necessarily, I get what you're saying. You're right. A lot of that was didn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, and that reminds me, I'm just because you're showing her there for a second.
There she is.
I did like the one part where when her mother wants her to come with her, and she like is saying, well, what do you want me to do? And she's like, I want you to come with me. And she's basically like, and this is why you shouldn't be here, because you can't, that isn't what I need to do. So that was kind of cool. Now, what about Mrs. Flood? I saw you had a picture of her too. That's kind of the other thing I'm wanting to know what the hell's going on with. She seemed evil, right? I mean, that was kind of the impression I got. Not that we really learned anything. But yeah.
Well, she seems like
she knows about Sutekh anyway. Or
what's going on? What's going on? Something. Wait! What's going on?
What?
I had my computer was like making noise.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what? I'm looking at the screen and I'm like trying to figure out what you're talking about.
The video was playing on my computer.
Oh, okay. Well, we can't see it. We just see the picture of them.
Yeah, I don't know if she, how like that one woman, Harriet, who worked in UNIT, was the Harbinger. She was like Harriet Binger, and her name was Harbinger, and she was kind of possessed by Sutekh.
Yeah, and that's like, possible, I guess.
Is Mrs. Twist like
Mrs. Flood? But yeah,
Mrs. Flood like a plant, or is she possessed, or is she part of the But I don't really see what the point is, because she hasn't done anything except be mean to Ruby's grandmother. It's like,
well, I'm hoping and assuming something is going to happen in the next episode. But I mean, she said about the one who waits, so clearly she knew something that was going on. But it's just she seemed to have been this nice old lady through the whole thing, and it was like surprising. So I do hope that they pick up that,
Yeah.
that of wherever it's going.
I guess. I was also a little surprised at the way Ruby has like. Okay, I know that the whole season has been about her trying to find her mother, and it even began with her like she was first introduced she was on a talk show like looking for her mother, right? But she seemed very like really like hysterically losing it.
Yeah, before she was chill. I mean, now she's kind of like losing it.
Yeah, maybe the doctor got her expectations up and got her whipped up a little. I mean, now, I have to say, I've been holding back saying this, but ultimately, I'm very disappointed by Sutek being the villain because I'm on the side of fans who are not super comfortable with this season really going full fantasy, like away from sci-fi as much as Doctor Who. Like when you introduce gods and magic and superstition and all that, like you're wading into fantasy. I don't know why I feel that like
I don't know that I necessarily feel like an Egyptian god is fantasy, though. I don't look at that
really?
quite. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it isn't like the same fantasy like you're talking about, like fairy circles and magic and stuff.
Really? I mean, to many, many people, gods are the same as fairies, and right?
Well,
like,
no, yeah, I guess that's true. I'm more looking at it as like, I guess, like Egyptian mythology, like because like obviously Egyptian god. I mean, we don't believe that there are like real Egyptian gods. I mean, we don't, but they believed it.
Egyptians.
So I'm looking, so I'm looking at it more like it was more of like I guess of like a historical. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like came from Egyptian mythology and Egyptian history, are like a lot of the Egyptian gods because it's part of that history. So I'm not looking at it, I guess, quite the same. But I see now after I said that what you mean. But I don't know. I see it that way, more of like
it's not just. I mean, we had like gnomes and elves and fairies and
no, yeah. But I'm saying I don't look at it quite as fantasy as those things. I guess
I think. And people have magic and like Sutek's minions, like the maestro had literal animated notes coming out of their fingertips. Like I feel this season is really fantasy oriented and getting into a I don't know why I'm feeling like fantasy, like Doctor Who. It's not like it's like a harder sci-fi kind of show, right? Like the Doctor has run into some borderline characters over the years. I don't know why I'm feeling this like hard, like I don't want the Doctor to be fantasy, but like what were those things? Gremlins or goblins in the first episode with Ruby, and there have been like multiple like the toy maker and the maestro both like wield magic. I know there are people out there who are going to say like, look, to people in 1600, our technology looks like magic. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but I'm just not really like, I don't like that suit tech is a god. And I also really didn't like, I don't have a picture of this, but this is another episode where the Doctor is just looking at suit tech with despair and defeat and horror and like.
He doesn't have a plan.
This Doctor doesn't.
That's what I think is missing. He never has a plan. The Doctor before always had a plan. I missed that.
Yes, but the Doctor's plans are always sort of seat of his pants, last minute.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? But
he's just, you're right. He's just like, oh no, what am I going to do? Instead of trying to figure something out.
I think this Doctor is, a little bit lacking in like initiative and bravery and braggadocio, and not that he's a coward or not I just feel like this is like at least the third episode where we've seen the 15 be like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know how to do this, whereas and not like I don't know how to do this, but I'll figure it out in 5 minutes and I'll make something up. Like and maybe it's because I haven't had enough episodes to just really, I keep complaining about not getting to know my Doctor. before like these like almost could he get a couple easy cases before right?
Yeah.
So
Also,
I'm
a
just
longer
not
season would have
yeah.
helped. It's been a
I'm just
really short
not
season.
enthusiastic about this villain, this big bad. And like really after the god of death and like basically like Satan, like what's he gonna encounter next season that's gonna I know you have to top it you always have to top a villain, but he's not really like the doctor had like a disgusting bogeyman monster and some giant like jelly bean slug looking things, and then like 3 gods that he had to fight in 3 different episodes. I guess I just want maybe I want a longer season. Maybe you're right. I want a longer season.
Yeah, I think we need a longer season.
Yeah. I'm underwhelmed by a lot of people. I'm in a vast minority. I think most people thought the Sutek reveal was great.
Yeah, like I said, my opinion is I think it was a really cool reveal. I just wish that I knew who the villain was, because I feel like I was waiting for that aha moment and it didn't come. But again, that's my fault for not watching the classic
I
episode.
guess. I mean, why would you expect to know who the villain is? Like the doctor.
That's a good point though, is most people, I think, and I don't know if I should say most people, a lot of people that watch Doctor Who now though have not seen the classic series. So I guess you can't necessarily expect to know.
Why would it be a repeat anyway? Like for 15 like for so many seasons, the Doctor meets a new kind of character, villain,
right,
whatever weekend. I don't know why you'd be expecting to recognize.
I'm saying the feeling the episode gave me, like just the kind of intense. Like I just felt like that something was coming. Like it just felt like something was coming that we've seen before. The way they were doing it, that was just the opinion I got from it. Like whatever this is, the way they're building it up, it is being built up that we're going to recognize it, is how I felt.
Okay, so in that case, I would say that when Sutek is revealed, I don't think 15's reaction was one of recognition.
No, it didn't seem to be.
Like, I know what this is, and yeah, it's going to be bad because I had a hard time with this thing before, but I recognize it. Like the look on the doctor's face seemed to be like completely as like shocked as right. Like it didn't look like horror, but a recognition type of horror.
Yeah, I agree. Although to be fair, we only got a few seconds, but yeah, I do agree with you.
And to be fair, also, I'm not an actor. Do I even know what look I'm describing that he should have had?
That's true.
Right? Like,
I'll have to say, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. I just feel like part of the problem is it just, and I just said this before, but I feel like there haven't been enough. Like you're saying, we haven't gotten to know the Doctor. I think if we had more episodes, we would have. Usually there's, well, I don't know. I guess there's 8. Maybe it is kind of like what there normally is, but it seems like normally there's more. Isn't there usually 10? I think there's usually 10.
I feel like there used to be 10. I don't know.
They change around. And granted, I know things are different, and some of it was because of, what had gone on and everything, but with the strike. But yeah, I don't know. I want more. I feel like we just have not gotten enough to. I mean, the other thing is too is that each season has to stand on its own to some extent, and maybe it's because we haven't gotten as much of like a season long story either. I feel like a lot of times we get more sort of like a through line. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm not sure. You don't think that Who is Ruby Sunday is a through line?
Well, yeah, I guess. And maybe that's my other problem too, that there's been a lot of her and not as much as the Doctor, and we've said that before. And I even said to you when I was like texting you, the thing that also concerns me is I feel like through a lot of this, that as much as we know that we need to know who she is and who her mother is and stuff, they to me still have not explained why it matters. Like, okay, she wants to know who her mother is, and I get that. But why is who her mother is important in the scheme of things? In the Doctor, I mean, yeah, he was there, so I guess it was kind of his past now. I don't know. I just feel like there's something in there that was not doesn't have enough of a through line, I guess. I guess,
yeah. Like they've leapfrogged a little bit over like Ruby's importance, and it turns out that Okay, so the Sutek was like attached to the TARDIS for the last like 400 years or whatever, right?
Well, I think
4,000
it
years.
was maybe I misunderstood it. I thought it was supposed to be just from them watching the video, as since they watched the video that like they brought it. Well, no, that's not entirely true. It's been waiting for how long? But I think it attached to the TARDIS when they went to that moment. At least that was my
No. It
understanding,
has
but it
been
wasn't explained
it
really
has
well.
like it like integrated itself with the TARDIS like a zillion years ago. Uh like I think. Um
I'm not sure. It wasn't explained very well.
and that the
Clearly,
and that
we
and
aren't
that
sure.
the window like allowed it to like release
Like
itself
manifest or whatever. Yeah.
and become yeah,
I don't know.
that's my understanding. I don't know if anybody out there has a better I think like when the doctor
The fact that we're not sure though is a problem, I think. Like
yeah,
it clearly wasn't explained. I mean, I don't know. I would think that I kind of feel like if it was there all these years that they would have at some point like it would have tripped an alarm or something. I think that that thing's been waiting, but I thought that them going to that moment is what pulled it to the TARDIS. Like, but
no.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That was
I
how
think
I.
I think it's always been sort of somehow like connected with the TARDIS and like using the time window and the memory whatever kind of let
Like
it
made it. That's why I said maybe it like made
read
it
it.
solid. So
But it's not really clear to me if the whole Ruby Sunday thing was a setup to bring the Doctor to the point of using the time window so Sutek could free himself itself, or if it's just like they just sort of like there's not a good connection with the Ruby thing, and they're just sort of now jumping. It's just like a bad coincidence. I
yeah,
don't
I don't
know.
know.
Like
I
it's
don't.
not like Ruby is not like a person like Clara who had like this like sort of big thing going on with the Doctor's timeline, right? Or like like is there any real significance other than like she wants to know, right?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is I'm saying like we know that we needed to know who her mother is, but I don't understand why
Right.
we needed to know that, other than like he said that, you know,
Yeah, and
like
like
there wasn't.
is that memory even real, and why does it snow, and like
Yeah,
and
there's
then
something somewhere missing, and I think that just we didn't get. Maybe they're
and
just
then there's this like the whole
which
S
was brought
triad.
in, the 11th hour, and
Well, and like, I'm sorry, is she making TARDISes? Like it, like that would seem like a big deal. Like if she is gonna
what
like make TARDISes, or
what makes you? Why are you saying she's making TARDISes now? Now
because
I.
S triad technology is an anagram for
Yeah,
TARDIS.
but that was a red herring. He was saying that was the wrong anagram. That they should have been looking at the anagram S Tech
Tech.
Tech was the
Oh,
point.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a red herring. I think they
But
did it just to throw people off. I don't think
what's the point
Tech
of
was a
that?
good start.
Like is Sutek
To have the doctor be confused and wrong, I guess.
right? Like is Sutek trying to use Susan to make technology to destroy the world or something? Like what?
Yeah, that again was the other part, and that was kind of my point too, is like why is Susan, I don't understand why Susan's important or why she was showing up in all these places. I mean, I think it was something to do with connection to Sutek, but it wasn't adequately
Yeah.
explained, and maybe they're going to explain more of it. I don't know,
Well, yeah.
but it just seems like a lot of it was just red herrings in order to be confusing and have you not know what's really going on. But
This is
I do gotta say, I do appreciate that this show knows how to have secrets and not have things be
leaked.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. And what was like sort of leaked, I think it sounds like was sort of leaked on purpose to, like I said, as a red herring to throw people off.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's been, kind of out there. And the other thing is, and I don't know if it's official, I meant to find out and I completely forgot all about it. I followed them, but there is an S triad. I'm trying to find the account. Hold on. I don't know if it's going to become something or it's just someone did it to and it's like just a fan, but there's like a S triad Twitter account and I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, it might be a fake. It might be a fake thing.
Riot Technologies. Yeah, it could be, but it's definitely the way it's written. It looks like a web mazy type, or not necessarily a web maze, but like a what do you want to call it? Like done in conjunction with the show. It seems like.
Oh, like a media, like a marketing thing.
Yes, it seems like it. Their first tweet was back in March.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't even, I just saw it last week. But it definitely looks like it's probably some kind of, like you said, marketing thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be going to go anywhere, but it's just I like when they do that. It's kind of a fun little side, follow the thread type of thing.
Well, so I would say that this is the first of 2 parts, right? And we might watch the second hour next week
and be like,
and then look back and say, like, this was a fantastic setup. They did it perfectly. It all makes total sense now, right?
Yeah,
my nitpicking is maybe I might totally change my tune. And I would say, like, whatever criticisms I levy against the show, I really think that Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson are 2 of the strongest actors we've had on this show, which is not to say that Capaldi or Tennant or Smith are not good actors, right? But Ncuti Gatwa was like a totally different kind of an actor, and Millie Gibson is also very good. They're a really strong team, really selling what even like terrible lines like "time is memory, memory is time," like. He's like
he's definitely a great actor.
Yeah.
And I like that he's different too. I mean, we haven't, I mean, it's great we got Tennant back, but we for a while had some that weren't necessarily our favorites. So it's nice to have some fun stuff. But I know a lot of people are complaining. I shouldn't say I don't understand the complaints, because I don't agree with the complaints, but I know why people are complaining. But I don't. Yeah, exactly. I mean, who cares? It's great. It's been written great. It's been acted great. Well, most of it's been written great. I mean, we've had nitpicks, but for the most part, it's been pretty damn good, and I've really enjoyed it. And I'm happy with the Doctor.
Yes, and
it may not be what we usually have, but that doesn't matter. I mean, we had a female Doctor. Who cares?
I think we all 3 have complained about the season being too companion forward and light on the Doctor, but
I think the biggest complaint I have.
But Millie Gibson is really stepping up and carrying it.
Yeah, and it's also been because he was filming. I mean, it's not like
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If your actor's not ready, you delay. I'm sorry.
I agree. No, I agree with that. But I'm just saying, like, it's not her fault. I'm
not saying it's her fault.
No, I'm not. But I mean, I think a lot of people. Right. But what I'm saying is, I think some people will be like, they don't like her because of that.
Yeah.
Well, and that isn't a reason to. I'm just saying.
I'm saying she's being asked to carry a lot, and she's up to the task.
Yes.
So, boy, look at that picture. Doesn't the Doctor's costume look a lot like the 1970s costumes in Interview with the Vampire last week?
Yeah, you're right. It does. You're right.
It's like they're sharing a wardrobe.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, so next week we got one more, and maybe it'll all like really start. Like if you binge it and watch these 2 in a row as one episode,
might make a difference.
You might have a different expectation of this also.
Yeah.
So
I wish I had more time this week, because I kind of want to go back and rewatch from the Christmas special, or rewatch them all, but I know I won't have time. Just to see how it kind of flows when you watch it together,
Yeah, you'll know. Well, but it's not meant. It wasn't.
No, it's not. I'm just saying I'm curious, because sometimes you take different things out of it when you do that.
I mean, I don't mean that. It's not. They shot it. They wrote it with the intention of like having a weekend, knowing they were going to have a week in between, right?
Oh,
doesn't mean you can't. It's not. I'm not trying to invalidate people who binge it, but
it should work without binging.
Yeah, it should work. It should work without you having to sit down and binge it.
Yeah.
Duly noted. I guess it should work both ways. All right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, we've done 40 minutes on Doctor Who.
All right. What else was on your plate this week?
Well, do you want to do Interview with the Vampire next? Since we were talking about the costume, we'll move on to that. Oh, got an ad pop up here. You know, I was slightly confused a little bit by the end of this, but at the end of the episode. But I think part of that is like maybe if you read the book might have made more sense, I guess. Yeah, that's my main thing. I liked it again. I thought it was pretty good. It's been moving pretty good after since the last couple, because the beginning of the season was a little slow and then it sort of caught up.
Yeah, so this happens, it's pretty similar to what happens in the book, except that Claudia's friend is a doll maker in the book, not a dressmaker, and I don't recall her being a Nazi collaborator or whatever is going on with that. And of course, she's a 5-year-old in the book, so there's not this like
quasi love story thing.
Yeah, I was kind of taken aback. Like,
yeah, I was not surprised. Yeah, I thought it was just she wanted a friend, and then clearly this woman likes her. So,
yes, on screen last week and in recent weeks, it did not read to me.
It did not
as a romance, right? No.
Yeah, and the woman was talking about the boyfriend she had, and I mean that doesn't mean she can't be bisexual, clearly, but like I did not pick up on anything between her and Claudia at all. I did not expect that.
Well, I mean, she was talking about. I think that she like dated a Nazi soldier during the war.
Yeah,
and that's why and she did what she had to do to survive the war. Like it all comes out this week in her memory. Like she's like, I did what I did to survive, right?
That might have been the only reason she was with him too. We don't know.
And like whatever, but it did not at all seem to me that they were like gonna like I thought Claudia wanted a friend and a companion. And like suddenly they're and I really and then like they have this like weird it really was like a threesome, right? Like they go to Armand.
Yeah, it made it sort of sexual there.
They go to Armand and they're like, Armand, will you change her? And he's like, no, I won't change her.
Which we find out is because he hasn't changed anybody into a vampire.
I mean, I'd have to go back and say, I'm getting really sick of Louis, and I'm getting really sick of Louis and Armand, right?
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I kind of felt like, oh, Louis is being the Lestat in this situation. Like he's being the bossy, controlling, jerky guy. And like when Armand protests, Louis just is like uses sex to like distract him.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah, it's clearly been building up more and more each week to show that Armand, even though we thought, or at least I thought, I mean, you read the book, so you probably did, but thought that Armand was like this big leader, that he's definitely the submissive one between the two of them in the relationship, because he even says to him in that scene where that picture is, are you telling me or are you asking me?
Yeah.
You know, so he would. Oh, and that's the other thing too I was going to comment on. Like I said, that was kind of building, because then you get that scene where he's just like, I forget what he asked him, but he wanted to talk about something, and he's like, just get in the damn coffin and you can tell me why we're having sex. Like, that was a little blunt, and I guess more than I expected.
Yeah. That was very, and that was like a very Lestat-ish thing to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was very it's funny because I read an article, I want to say, was it Vulture or maybe it's Collider that I read, and they were saying, like, do you remember in season 1 before Louis became a vampire, when he was like living in the city and trying to make money, and he was like a big jerk and really mean to his whole family and mean to everybody. Remember, he owned that brothel in town and he was a really cold and mean guy.
I forgot about that. You're right.
And they were saying like Louis going back to the way he was before he met Lestat. And like, did Lestat actually make him nicer? But he's really you're right. He definitely in these last 2 episodes is the jerk, and he's also like, so in the scenes with the interview where like I get it. I don't have a good scene of the interview. I get it that Louis is mad because it came out that Armand like wiped his memory, and he's still mad that Armand like put those pictures in the photo album or whatever. But Louis, I get that he's mad, but he's also kind of like a petulant baby who's gonna punish Armand for this for like the rest of his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then it comes out that he's like, "Oh, you asked me to do it. You asked me to wipe your memory because you were being such a jerk," which seems a little.
I mean, we don't know that that's true. That's what he's saying.
No, you can't believe anybody because Armand does have the power to wipe memories, wipe Daniel's, wipe Louis, and then he tells
I know
you,
he's like saying you asked for it, and Daniel's like, I didn't. I liked how Daniel was like totally like, well, yeah. I didn't tell you to do it.
Yeah.
Got stuck in the middle. He's like, oh, it was 6 days instead of 5 days. What difference did it make?
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
But you have to only go by what.
Yeah.
Like Louis has to just believe Armand. He doesn't really know. Everybody is a liar. Daniel too, right? They're all liars and were on drugs at the time. And like everybody's unreliable. Like we can't trust anybody's point of view on this show.
Can't. And speaking of, you reminded me when you said that, because you did show that picture when you were flipping through them of that guy. So that guy that's been feeding him this stuff, he's Talamasca.
Merrick. Yeah, he's Talamasca.
I don't know if I didn't get that before or they just didn't outright say it till now, but I was like, oh, okay, that slightly makes more sense. But so I guess the point is we know the Talamasca that they hide things from the public, but he's kind of like, we would rather have your story and be able to control it than have it get out, I guess, on its own, is sort of what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a, and he's like, we'll help you get your book out.
They're just going to bury it.
Yeah, because like it'll just get buried, but they don't want it. They're like, eventually this is coming out. These vampires are like living out in the world now, like, you know.
And I'm curious if this is connected to the upcoming series. That's why I was thinking about that.
Well, I
don't know because
I don't know, but I know, I know how much this could or could not be related to what comes in the future, and whether or not his fears are correct or whatever. But it was kind of interesting that, Rashid gets up and goes to the bathroom, lets Merrick sit down, and then later Rashid also lies to Armand, right?
Yeah, that was really surprising to me that he lied.
Yes.
I did not expect him to. So I'm curious what that means. See, I thought maybe some of it was, I kind of wondered, I don't know if I feel like I had mentioned this at one point, but I had kind of wondered if it was possible that like the stuff that was being leaked, that some of it was being leaked by Armand and it was sort of like a passive aggressive thing. And clearly that's not the case, but yeah, it makes me question now why Rashid's like not saying anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll find out next week.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. So I guess the point you were saying about putting the pictures in and we were saying about race and the memory and everything. That wasn't what Armand was saying he failed. The big failure is whatever it is that's happening at the end that's about to happen, that goes down. I did not expect him to betray Louis. I was really surprised by that, especially because Louis was like telling him, let what's the guy's name? I'm looking at his picture and
Santiago,
let him think that he's getting what he wants. And clearly Santiago's the one that's playing him, because he even like starts yelling about the script, and then he says in that guy's head, I really like your script. I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
So playing each other, but it's like Louis was trying to help him. But more than that, I'm kind of curious why, if Armand betrayed him, why he first came back and he's like, oh yeah, I left him for you. Like, why bother? Why not just betray him? Like, why make it like a, stake through the heart for a bad analogy? Like he had to, unless it was just to keep them there so they wouldn't leave. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out, I guess.
Well, I mean, I feel like it was kind of showing. So Armand says multiple times in this episode during the, like, when he and Louis are like fighting during the interview, like he says, I had to I made a choice. I had a choice. I made a choice, and Louis forgave me. And Louis, Louis also echoes and says, well, he had a choice. So, I took it like, look, Louis is in the show now and Claudia's not, right?
Yeah.
So and these guys, I mean, Santiago and the rest of the cup. So there's a million pictures in the, like, most of the pictures on the AMC press site were of, how all the vampires are sitting around in the seats while this rehearsal's going on looking bored.
Yeah. Is that what they were along?
There were no pictures of when they go to visit the lawyer, right? They go to visit Lestat's lawyer, and they're like, when's the last time you heard from Lestat? And he's like, 1940, which...
Yeah, I'm surprised, though, that Armand isn't picking up on any of this stuff going on, unless he is, and we're just not knowing that, I guess.
Right, because he can read minds and control minds, but he doesn't.
So why doesn't he hear any of this? Yeah, that's
hear or control any of his coven, and he didn't make any of them. He didn't sire any of them, right?
Now, let me ask you something, because Lestat is the one that made Claudia, right?
Yes, Lestat made Claudia as a sister, as a daughter, because Louis was being all like, depressed and whatever, and he made Claudia as a gift for Lestat, for Louis.
Okay, so my question is, and I don't know if they're just lying, if it'll explain it, but, and granted, I gotta say, I watched this as a screener rather than off of AMC, because I was not going to take time to watch commercials. It was driving me nuts. But because I watched it off the screener, even though it wasn't really a screener, I didn't have captions. So I was trying to listen to, at the very end, when they kidnap them. They're saying that, or it sounds like they're saying that, like, they're going to be punished for their crimes and, like, for killing Louis and this. But the one thing is, one of the things it sounds like that they're saying is that to making a child immortal or something like that.
Yes.
But Louis didn't make her. So why is that part of their punishment? I don't understand why they're blaming him. I also don't understand why they're even trying to blame him for Lestat's murder if they know Lestat isn't dead. So,
well, but it's an attempted murder, right? Like, attempted murder is a crime also. True. Even in vampire world, I think perhaps, Jamie, they feel like Claudia is an abomination who should not exist.
Right, but it's not Louis's fault; it's Lestat's fault. So why are they?
I mean, Louis is best friends with an abomination.
I guess he let her live too. Like, maybe he was supposed to not let her.
And he did conspire with her to kill. They went in on it was her plan to kill Lestat, but Louis was part of it.
True.
They both tried to kill Lestat. So I think that they're listing all the rules. I mean, basically, it's funny because
they've broken a lot of the rules, so
they don't mind making Claudia part of their theater troupe and, like, do all the scut work.
It benefits them, yeah.
I don't know that they really care so much. I think they're all just really mad that Armand
is off with Louis and doing what he wants.
Well, they're mad that Armand is not making Louis join the coven. Like, it's a rule that all vampires have to be in a coven, right? And Louis like, I'm not going to be in any coven. And Armand's like, well, that's fine as long as you keep having sex with me. You don't have to be in the coven, right?
Yeah, I don't appreciate it. I'll tell you what. You want to know what I think's going to happen? No, I have seen no further, and I have not read. So this is all just for people who know. So people know, I'm just guessing. I'm guessing that probably what's going to happen is that the choice was that that Armand made is that they agreed that they would not kill Louis, and that they would, they wouldn't stop the two of them, but that they're going to kill Claudia and her new friend, and that he okayed it, and that's why they're grabbing all of them, because Louis will try to stop them. That's what I think is going to happen.
I think you're right, and I'm saying that based on what I know from watching this on the screen, like setting aside any book knowledge I might have. I think you're right. I think it looks like Armand was like, I'll let you have Claudia if you leave Louis alone.
Yeah, because
right.
I've said before, the fact that Claudia isn't in the interviews leads me to believe she's dead.
Yeah. Yes, and the pages are missing from her diary, and this week Armand's like, I can never make up for it, and
you made me take your memory, and it would make sense if he did all this that Louis didn't want to know it or wanted to forget it or whatever,
Yeah, because I can't imagine it. He says he had a choice, but if they gave him a choice, Louis or Claudia, there's no question who he'd pick. Like, how is that even a choice?
Yeah,
like, of course,
but
he'd be like, right?
He made Louis think that the choice was he left the coven. I mean, he could have just tried to leave the coven. They probably would have came after him. They could have killed everybody in the coven. I mean, I don't know. I think part of the problem, though, was that Armand lost control of the coven. Like, before, he was able to be like, no, this is the way it's going to be, whether you like it or not. But they sort of ganged up on him at a certain point because he was losing control, and because Santiago, was trying to take over and everything. But I feel like it's kind of the same thing in a way that happened with Lestat, which is, I find ironic, that when Lestat came in, he fell in love with, regardless of whether the fact that he fell in love with Lestat. Lestat came in, did what he wanted, broke the rules. Coven got pissed. And then, but in that case, the Coven was like, oh, this is better. We're going to side with you. And this time it did not work out that way.
Jamie, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say it's the same thing. It's what Lestat came in and was like, there's a different way to live. And they were like, okay, we're out of here, Armand. Let's do it. And it's the same thing. Like, Louis comes in and he's like, there's another way to live. I don't have to join your coven.
But they disagree this time. So they're like, well, we're not going to let it go this time.
But they disagree, but they don't, because Armand keeps complaining that they're out there killing and they're out there doing whatever, and they were climbing up the Eiffel Tower this week, and they are getting out of. He has lost control, but it's partly because Louis has kind of showed them that you don't have to be under control.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of ironic because it's the same thing Lestat did. It's just when Lestat did it, they decided they liked it, so it was okay.
Yeah.
And they came back. Yeah.
And so that's the big reveal at the end, right?
Yeah, but we knew he was alive. I mean, that wasn't.
We knew he was alive. Yeah. But
I didn't know he was going to come back right now. I didn't think he'd be back this season.
I didn't think so either. I mean, not for real. He's been back in visions, right? Like,
yeah.
Sam,
well, yeah.
What's his name? Sam Reed has been back. But that Lestat would be back like this. Yeah. And I mean, so I'm just thinking of this now, but maybe is that the choice that Armand is talking about? I had to make a choice.
Yeah, maybe he chose Lestat. Who knows?
Yeah. And how did Lestat get there, and who brought him there, and this is all.
I don't know if that had to do with them going to the solicitor guy or had nothing to do. I'm not sure where that came from. What I want to know, and I not want to know, but just am kind of wanting to see, I guess. I think will be interesting. Lestat's reaction, and does Lestat still love Louis? Is he going to abandon him? Is he going to screw him over? Because it's also kind of surprising to me too. I get the feeling, the way they do this scene, that you see the picture, that I'm assuming that Lestat is okaying them being ready to murder Claudia, if that's what's going to happen. Which surprises me, because I would think that he would be pissed at that.
Yeah, this actually is a reflection in a mirror. I guess I can't remember.
Vampires have reflections. I didn't know they did.
I guess in this universe, vampires have reflections. I can't really remember how that goes.
Yeah.
But this,
not that it's really relevant. It was just the way they did the reveal anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of cool the way they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, her vampires are very different than other kinds of vampires, right? Like her vampires actually have sex with each other and things like that. And they're not just like sexy, they're highly sexed. But yeah, anyway.
These aren't sparkling vampires.
Next week should be a good one, bringing a lot of this to a big climax next week.
Yeah, there's only, what episode is this?
This was 7. This was 7 this week.
So there's 2 left, I believe.
Yeah, right.
I think I feel like there's 9. I think
maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I think we've.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, do you want to do dark matter now?
Yeah. Let's talk about dark matter. And I'm just gonna mute myself out for a second and let you jump in first. Okay.
Okay. Well, I have to. I don't want to go ahead. It might be better if you.
Okay.
And all of them come in. It does. I did see that on the recap, but I just want to make sure I don't overshare. So,
where it ends. This is an episode where the police are on to Jason too for his friend's disappearance. Why do I want to call that guy Randy? That's not his name.
Ryan.
And so it ends, he has to chop open the box to go in to retrieve an alternate Ryan. And he does it at just the wrong time where Jason finally makes it through, and it ends that he gets out of the box.
It ends as
he steps out of the box into like the warehouse. Oh no, it ends. No, he goes, then he comes through and it ends at the gun shop. It ends at the gun shop where the third one appeared. Jason number 3 appears at the gun shop.
Oh, okay. I thought this didn't show. Okay. I think that was interesting where they did that.
So you go first.
I was going to say, I remember that when they did the gun shop, that was the part where it was like, wait, what? I remember that. And I'm like, but that was the other Jason. And then you realize after you can start, if you actually paid attention, which I did not notice until this point, because I started paying attention, that you can tell the one Jason with, which I think is Jason 1 because of the cut on his nose. So there was a way to tell them apart. But yeah, it's kind of like, oh, what there was another one, or was that him, or was that, that was a little confusing at that point. I'm reading, I'm wondering if this part that I was reading was part of just this interview that was done, because if it wasn't in the episode, then it's spoilers, but I'm looking, it's on Screen Rant. They didn't, that's all they showed was that Jason, then the other one at the gun shop. That's what I'm seeing. What? I don't know. There's
another Jason, like they look all the same, but the clerk says, "Oh, did you hurt your finger? You have a brace. You didn't have a brace on your finger a minute ago." And I'm like, wait a minute, neither of them has a brace on their finger. This is like a third Jason.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just, I'm reading this. It must be part, just the interview said this. It was talking about some other things that I don't think are in this episode. That's why I was being careful. But we've seen Jason, what we're assuming is, I guess we're calling Jason 3. I guess we'll call him. But yeah, that was the point that was like really confusing. I mean, I think it was meant to be. You were supposed to be like, wait, that didn't make sense. But so it's kind of really opening the story up now. It's hitting that home stretch. This talks about other Jasons, and that doesn't. Yeah,
I mean, it looks like
a different recap, I think. So I'm looking at the right thing.
I mean, I do want to talk about that a lot, but maybe we should, this whole other thing happens where these Jason and Amanda, Jason number 1 and Amanda, she's like, we need a break. I don't know why this picture is in here. Did they go to a rushing water world? Isn't this from like episode 1?
Yeah.
But they go to this, like, Amanda chooses this really nice world where she wants them to take a break and relax because they're getting too stressed. They'll never get out. and she takes him to this really nice dinner, and she buys him a nice suit, and they're having a really like nice time, and then she like lays it on him that she's out. Like she has, this is the world where she has chosen to retire, basically, right?
Yeah. I mean, she knows that there can't be a happy ending for the two of them. She's been going and going. And I kind of wondered if at a certain point that was going to happen, because it doesn't necessarily make sense for her to keep going and hope she ends up in a not crazy place, you know, and who knows what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I don't blame her.
And she chose this world where her other self, I mean, has been missing for 2 years. Now that seems like a bit of a red flag. Like, because do I think Elise Braga is out of the show now? No.
Well, I don't think. I mean, there's multiple versions of everybody. I don't think that would necessarily.
But she chose a world where she's not interfering with her other self. She's not going to try to steal. She's going to steal her life, but only because she's already presumed dead, right? Like she's she's missing
take her money in her life, and
I can get her ID. I can get a passport.
Doesn't she say her mother's alive in this one? I think she says.
I think so. Yeah, her brother. Yeah, and she can like slip into this person's life without causing like a lot of damage. She's not going to be like jealous and try to steal her life or anything, right? So, I mean, she made a good choice, and I mean, I think you're right. She knows, like, she has no future with Jason. How hard would it be to be traveling with the double of this man you were in love with? It right? Like, it's gotta, yeah. I mean, Jason's he's upset because he has become friends with her and grown to depend on her, but it needs to happen. Like it's too tempting, right?
Yeah.
Like he basically admitted he wanted to sleep with her. So this is a different scene from this scene, but that was kind of a big deal. I mean, we did see where he leaves 2 ampules with her, so she's definitely coming back, right? Like she can travel. I guess it was important sign for his character who he is. Like he doesn't keep all the ampules for himself to
even though he could, yeah.
Even though he could keep them to use to try to find Daniela, he gives them to her in case she has to travel again. So I do feel like we're going to see. I mean, you're right. We're going to see multiple versions of everyone, but I feel like we're going to see this one, our Amanda. She's not from the Prime universe, but
right. Yeah. What I want to know, and this is I guess not really a question for AJ, a question for AJ's kid. What I want to know is like where exactly the book ends, and is there more book? Because I think there's only one book, isn't there? Because I'm curious if there's like more to this story than what we're getting, because I now granted it's hard to tell because it seems like these stories are all supposed to be a one and done. So regardless of what they say or what it was advertised as, doesn't necessarily mean that's what it will be or what the point was. But I was under the impression it was like just one story and like there wasn't any more. And I'm curious if this is something that could go on, because it's such a good, such a good story. I would like to see beyond.
Well, AJ said this is. I do remember AJ saying this is already more than the book. That already said the book doesn't tell that much about what Jason 2 is doing in Boston trying to steal Daniela, right? It focuses mostly on our Jason 1 trying to get back as the main thrust of the book, right?
Yeah.
And less so about this Jason being unhappy with the life that he stole. So I don't know. I don't know if this was supposed to be like one season, one book done. I don't know. And you can't ever trust a TV network that says it's one, because if they are making some money, they'll go for 2, right?
Yeah, you can't really know if it's gonna. Whoops.
Yeah.
If it's gonna do that.
We had the flashback to how Jason and Daniela met. It was short, right? He's talking about how he met her and what it was like and whatever. This could be a little foreshadowing to a way that she will be able to determine which is which, right? Like
mm-hmm.
bad Jason won't have any of those memories. Like, all she has to say is like, where'd we meet, right? And like, one guy can say all this and the other guy can't. I mean, this flashback occurs when it's not really a flashback. It's Jason telling Amanda how he met Daniela, right? I mean, it was another, sign to Amanda that they can never be together. But, so there was that. Meanwhile, there was that creepy. So we talked about Jason. The police are closing in on Jason. And so he has to. Meanwhile, our Jason sneaks into the house. That was so creepy. He sneaks into the house. He's looking at Daniela sleeping, maybe Daniela and Jason sleeping. And then he goes downstairs and the son wakes up and finds him sitting on the floor, right? And has a conversation with him, not knowing, of course. And Jason, like, he's basically almost like saying goodbye to him. I guess that is what inspires him to go and like buy a gun.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember this. I'm reading this. Was that was his own son though, or was that because I'm reading this thing about him seeing his brother in this episode, and that's where I'm like more confused. I don't remember when that happened.
He went to another. Was that in this episode? They go to another universe. Yes, this is when. I guess that's a small part of this. I can't remember if it was last week or this week, but he goes to a universe where Max is the one who didn't survive, or which one's alive? Charlie is the one who didn't survive, and Max is alive, right? And Max is like, I have her heart. Max is alive, and his twin was a girl, and he has her heart. Right? It's a totally messed, like the world is so close, but a little messed up. And he's like, I'm a big disappointment to you. And Jason's like, no, you can never be a disappointment to me. I love you. Like he
gets a chance to see him. Yeah.
Yeah. He gets a chance to like see him and talk to him, and he gets a chance to like maybe make things better between this kid and the other Jason who he doesn't even, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what was going on in this.
That's what I was trying to remember. It's been, I need to rewatch the finale before we. I just
watched it, but it's so mind bendy that sometimes,
it's harder when it's been a while. Yeah.
So much happens because then in the meantime, this guy goes through. Right, he goes through. He has to. Bad Jason. Where's bad Jason? The police are closing in on him. Now this one really caught me for a loop because. He's like, oh, I gotta chop open the box and go back in, right? And I was like, oh, he's gonna go back and get Ryan from where he left him. No, he goes back and gets a totally different Ryan who's like a down on his luck Ryan, right?
Yeah.
And he gets him drunk and like drags him in.
Yeah, you would think that that it would have been easier to go the other way, but I guess this way he's kind of trying to control.
I guess he can't trust that Ryan wouldn't be like mad at him. And tell everyone,
be like, you left me there. Yeah.
But
they believe him. But
I'm surprised you would choose that he would choose a Ryan who doesn't have the education and knowledge to create more serum or to use them or whatever. Like
but maybe he figures that way he's not a problem though either.
I guess he's so easily talked Leighton into like helping him. Like, like of all the Ryan, like I guess I can't wait for next week to find out why of all the Ryans he could pick out of any universe, he chose the Ryan whose life went in a totally different direction.
Yeah. I question though, could he go though and just pick out a specific Ryan though? Because I mean, I feel like there's so much involved in deciding what world you travel to. Would that necessarily tell him what that Ryan's going to be like? Or was it kind of like he guessed by picking a certain world and then just said, okay, you'll work?
I don't know.
I think he wanted a drunk one though, didn't he? I mean, he wanted
He wanted a drunk one, yeah. So he could be like, this guy's he's been on a bender, he's an alcoholic, he needs rehab, and then this guy would show up and like be drunk, right?
Yeah.
And he would say crazy shit, and people would be like, "Oh, you're an alcohol. You have problems. You need to be right." And the guy would, maybe he wanted a guy who'd immediately just be sent to rehab for 30 days, and he's got 30 days to think. Maybe he's just trying to buy time, and 30 days from now, maybe he'll. I mean, this Jason confuses me because he says repeatedly, like to psychiatrist Amanda, like maybe I'll just give up, maybe I'll just run, my life is not what I thought it was going to be, maybe I'll just leave, right? And then other times he seems really committed to like, then he closes up the box, he's like, oh, I'm committed to like staying here in this world, right? And then he goes
open. We knew that wasn't going to last.
Is this the episode where he's so mean to Amanda, the psychiatrist? And he's like, I bet you're a person who like had problems with your mother, and I bet you're like, he says all these like deep truths about her and really hurts her, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, get out of my office. I'm done being your, like, I'm kind of glad they did that. Like, every time you almost maybe feel a little bad for this guy, you're like, oh no, he's the biggest jerk ever.
Yeah. But I think it's also interesting when you see kind of those glimpses of the other Jason, like when he sees his other son, like the idea of like, I kind of a little bit understand why this me did it, you know? I think that's interesting too, though.
Yeah, but that's why he could never do it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he's different. I'm just saying that he sees, because he at one point in the show said like that he sees how he started down that path. It's just interesting because I mean they are all the same person, they're just different versions, so that's all like, you know, it's all relative. It still has he still has that potential, even though he wouldn't do it, it's still there.
I mean, there is a fundamental difference that he lost like people that he loved so much and that he just wants to get back to so badly, whereas Jason, it's just covetousness. Like the other Jason's just covetousness. Like he didn't lose any. I mean, like he broke up with Daniela years ago. He regrets it, but I mean,
that's my question too. He wasn't necessarily looking for something, right? Like I think he went, he traveled, he saw that there was something better than what he had, or that he thought was better. So it wasn't necessarily that he went in there saying, I wished I had stayed with Danielle. I took it more that like he went in here and he said, well, this life is better and this is why. And therefore, this is what I need to get out of it. And not realizing that he was probably more happy where he was and he should have just left it. Which is
because it's not really better. Jason, this version of Jason, he just sees what someone has and he wants to take it. Like, you're right. I don't know. He was sitting around his universe being like, oh, she's the one that got away. My life is meaningless without her. My money means nothing. I think you're right. He was just snooping around and saw that this guy had like another version of him had something that was great. And he wants that also. I've said it before, he wants his cake too, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, though, is that what he doesn't seem to realize, I guess, is that version of Jason is meant to be with her. That version of Jason is happy with that life. That's why he's happy. It's not because of any one thing. It's because just because he's a different person too.
Yeah.
He, quickly discovers because he's trying to change everything. So,
but that raises the question: who is this guy? Who is the finger brace guy? The third Jason who comes in, because he comes in with the same intention and the same everything, right? So, like,
there's a lot more confusing coming,
right? Like, I'm thinking, is he a version of our Jason? Because if every time you make a decision, another universe branches off, right?
That's usually the explanation I give when we're doing it. Yeah, there's, it's kind of like what's coming is so not what you're going to probably expect, that it's not going to really help for you to do what you're doing.
But like,
it's just so
you're making me think. Like you said, like Jason number 1 is meant to be with Daniela number 1, and like that's the only way for them to be happy. They're meant to be together. But maybe this guy is also meant to be with her because he's only one barely little iota different, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends whether you with multiverse theory you go by there's all these different versions, or like you just said, or there's all these different versions because of the different choices made these different versions. It kind of depends on what.
It's like Loki and the
theory is.
TVA. It's like Loki and the TVA pruning timelines that weren't meant to happen, and is like finger Jason like a timeline that wasn't meant to happen and should have been like needs to be pruned, kind of, right? Even though that doesn't happen, you don't prune. You know what I mean? That
No, yeah,
this, but
yeah, I don't.
like,
I'm trying to figure out. I don't want to spoil anything to say.
well, don't.
I know, and I'm thinking. I guess what you're saying could maybe be relevant, but I don't know that it's going to matter one way or another. Yeah, I can't really say much without saying something.
I mean, the fact it's not just like another Jason showed up and he's like, whoa, but he came in like with the same plan, the same intention, wanting to buy a gun, right? Wearing the same outfit, totally the same except for the finger, and like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Could be slightly different, could be a lot different. Yeah, we'll find out.
But, or has Jason been going around trying to steal Daniela in multiple universes, and this is just the first time it succeeded, right? Like,
there's a lot going on. This show is very confusing. That's why I said I want to rewatch the finale, because I'm already like listening to you thinking, wait a second, I thought this. And then I'm like, well, maybe I misunderstood that. I'm like, no, I just forgot about that. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And he you know, he kidnapped, I mean, like maybe more than one got through, right? Like I guess if Jason, here's the thing, Jason could, like I said, Jason could have gone to multiple universes and set things in motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
By talking to multiple Danielas or whatever. He might have, I mean, I don't know. I'm inclined to agree with you that I don't think he went around looking for Danielas to steal. I think he just happened to come to this one place and was like, wow, he's got something good. Let me try to steal that, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that he thought that was the one thing that made him happy, that made that Jason happy. But that Jason isn't him. Like I hadn't really thought this through when I watched it before. I'm just like, as we're talking about it, that's what I was thinking. Like, that's a different version of him. That version of him was happy with that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this Jason can be happy with that.
That Jason didn't have the lust for money and recognition, and right, like he just like
whatever choice he made down the line.
No, and he's explained like when Daniela became pregnant was like the turning point of his life. And she was like, you're out, I'm going it alone. And he came around, and it was like, and like this Jason, like he without having that formative experience, you can never be, that's what makes them meant to be together. And that's why he and Daniela will never click, because he doesn't have that moment of like really having to choose, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The main thing I will say to you, without spoiling anything, is I will say you are not going to guess where it's going. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think we'll guess what's coming, because I did not expect anything that comes. So that's all I will say.
Right. Yeah, I could talk about this forever, so we're gonna have to move on from this.
We're getting 90 minutes, and we still have one more show at least. Okay, so we'll season finale then. What that is
that next week?
I think it's next week. I'm trying to think if there's 8 or 9 of this.
There's definitely one. I mean, next week is called, the title of the episode is Jupiter.
I don't know. See, Apple has different amounts of episodes. They're not always the same. Let me see. I think somewhere here I had looked up what the schedule was. There we go. There's 9 episodes. So
all right.
Yeah.
And so next week, Jupiter is episode 8. So there's 2 left.
Well, yeah, for us to talk about. Jupiter's on tomorrow, but yeah.
Yeah. Next week for us to talk about. Yeah. Okay. We'll go back with that. All right. So you watched The Acolyte?
Yes, I did.
this was interesting. This was like twin flashback, right?
Yeah. I don't know if this is where you'll know more than I do. So a lot of the stuff that was in here, I don't know if this is in the mythology of Star Wars and I just haven't seen it, or if this is something new. But I was kind of lost because I'm like, wait, they can do magic? There's witches in Star Wars? Or is this just supposed to be that's the way they are describing? Whoop, I knocked my head over. The way that they talk about the Force. I wasn't entirely sure. I mean, I know they were talking about the Force, but is there a thing of witches in other parts of Star Wars, or is this new?
Yeah, so the witches they're like Force witches, I would say. And so they do use the Force. And they just have I guess a different culture and a different, like, so they don't call it the Force, but they use the Force.
But they're
And
not allowed to use the Force if they're not Jedi, right? That was what I was getting out of what happened, but I haven't watched enough of the mythology.
Yeah, I mean, so they're a little bit different. Like the witches are not like light is light and dark is dark, and there's a Jedi and a Sith, and there's good and bad, and they're not like,
right. But the Jedis have this big problem with them teaching the kids.
Yes,
so that's what I'm saying.
Yes, they are.
Nobody but Jedis are actually allowed to use it, right?
Yeah. The Jedi, like, kind of are like, you and your cult can't be like using. So they don't say they use the Force, but the Jedi definitely sees it as the Force, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The government doesn't allow them to do that. That's what I was getting at.
I mean, is the Jedi the government?
Well, no, but
no.
I mean, the government, but I'm not sure the right wording, but the fact that they're using the Force is not, it's like not sanctioned, I guess, is kind of what.
Okay. I mean, so AJ would be better able to explain this because he's watched all the Clone Wars. There's Force wishes in the Clone Wars, but I really had only seen them they're in Ahsoka, which is the previous series that you didn't watch, and there were Force witches in that also.
Okay.
But they were sort of like
saying that it didn't seem not exactly Star Wars because you could have dropped it in any other show. And yeah, I agree with that comment. Other than the fact that one of them wanted to be a Jedi instead. That was kind of the only part for me that connected with the Star Wars.
The Jedi are kind of like, I mean, the Jedi are kind of like, let's say that they are saying that there's only one way to believe, and if you don't follow we want to control and make rules about how you can use the Force.
But you don't become a Sith, basically.
I mean, so I don't really know, but to me, it's sort of like a critique of organized religion. And to me, the Jedi represent organized religion being like, this is the way you have to be, otherwise you're a heretic. And they're like, leave us alone. Yeah. Let us be druids if we want to or whatever, right? Like, we don't have to be Catholics. Kind of thing.
I see that. I never thought about it that way, but you're right. Let me comment on one thing and see if you think this is strange. And it doesn't really matter, but I don't know why it kind of irritated me. These two girls that play the two versions of them, of her younger.
The twins, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. They could be sisters in real life. They could be twins in real life. I don't know. I haven't looked at the cast list, so I don't know. But what I find strange is that they clearly have two different actresses playing these twins. But yet the main woman in the older version of her is the same actress playing both parts. Did that seem strange to you? Because that was why I know when we saw flashbacks, I was kind of didn't realize, and I thought it was weird, like they kept showing them looking different. I finally figured out that was why, like it's not the same actress. I thought when they showed them before at first that it was like different ages in the other episodes, not in this episode. Like when they had shown May or whatever, like I didn't realize it was just they were showing one version than the other version. It's because they're not the same actress. That to me is a little strange because they use the same actress for the adult.
Yeah.
Does that bother you? I don't know. It just was something that stood out to me that was a little strange.
So they are sisters.
They're
sisters.
They might be. They could even be twins and just not identical.
I don't know if they're twins. They're definitely sisters. They're named Lauren Brady and Leah Brady. And I mean, identical twins, often you can tell them apart a little bit, right? Like,
yeah, but they don't look identical.
Some are more identical than others, but I mean, they don't look identical. They look pretty alike. Anyway, you know what? You can't cast little kids to work as hard as an adult.
That's true. That's true. You're right. 100% right. They can't do as many hours.
A matter of how many hours a kid, you know how much a kid would have to work to green screen this up against each other?
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think of that.
And they're allowed to work like 8 hours a day and stuff, right? And only like 3 hours in a row or something. So,
yeah, it just, for whatever reason, I just kept it was just something that like stuck out like a sore thumb to me.
It did not to me, because they're wearing identical hairstyles and costumes. I often had to look very close to, and the whole show was so damn dark. Like, you look at a scene like this, I'm like, wait, which one is that? Right?
Yeah, I thought it made it easier to tell which was which, but I didn't know that you were necessarily supposed to be.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Or this, like, what the hell?
No,
which one is which, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I mean. So, I mean, I kind of liked getting the backstory of how, who they are. They're being raised by their mother is a witch, and they're two mothers, and they're being raised by this group of women are raising them.
And they're not supposed to be able to have kids. We don't know how she created them, just that she did, and she wasn't supposed to in whatever way she did.
Well, are they not able to, or she was not able to? But and by the way, that's Jodie Turner Smith, who plays their mother, Mother Anastasia.
She's familiar, but I didn't know from where.
Well, she's been in a lot of stuff, and she was married to Joshua Jackson until not too long ago.
Okay.
You probably recognize her from she's been in a whole bunch of stuff. She was and she's been in more and more stuff lately. I mean, she started out as a model.
I was gonna say she's really pretty.
She was in the Neon.
The other one isn't. She is pretty.
I mean, a lot of people. Queen and Slim, I think, was her big thing, but she was in the Neon Demon. She was in The Last Ship, and she was on. You might know her. She was on Night Flyers. You might have seen her in Night Flyers.
Oh, okay, yeah. Or it could have been from The Last Ship too, but yeah, it was probably.
Yeah. She was in. She had a small role in True Blood. I'm reading. Like, she's done a bunch of more and more
there
stuff.
She is right there. You know who I think she reminds me of?
Who?
She looks so, because I was thinking that she looks a lot like Jill. Doesn't she kind of?
Oh, Jill Roby?
Yeah.
She does kind of.
We have to tell her we think that. I don't, because I think that's who I was mostly thinking of, is thinking like Jill. Yeah. Well, that's a good compliment for her.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
so
I knew I knew it somewhere. I just didn't know from where.
They're being raised by this big bunch of witches, and it's kind of like time to take their vows, like I felt it was like nuns taking their final vows.
Kind of, yeah.
They're supposed to, like,
clearly that she's not actually giving them the Force, which is what I thought at first. But considering, what's her name? Oshi. Considering she has her power, Jedi powers or whatever, she isn't literally giving them the powers.
Well, I mean, so some people are force, in Star Wars they call it force sensitive, right? And some people are force sensitive, and some people are just really not. Most of us are not force sensitive. And here's a good picture that I wanted to have of them. And you can either use the Force or you can't, and they're not like getting their powers, but they're being trained, right? And I guess they're taking their final
like you said, vows, kind of.
Vows, or they're agreeing that they're choosing this life as how they're going to live. And they're like all ready to, like, you can see that one is like, May is all like, woohoo, I can't wait. Look at all my witch friends. I can't wait. And Osha's like, oh, I don't really know if I want to do this, right?
She doesn't just want to be a twin sister. She wants her own life.
Yes. And she's pretty clear about that, right? And then, like, a bunch of Jedi show up and they give her an out. Like, did she want to be a Jedi, or did she just want to get the hell out of there? not the hell out, but you're right. She says like, I don't want to share my life with her.
Yeah,
and
it's
like,
not that she wants to leave her family. She just wants her own identity, I think, more than anything. But I think she did want to be a Jedi because she had that book of drawings of things that I think were supposed to be Jedi related, weren't they? I don't know enough about Star Wars, but I thought they were supposed to be.
yeah, I mean, maybe she was having some kind of like, I didn't really catch on to that so much. But like, I didn't really know what it was because I don't know. I just didn't know what it was.
I liked how he tricked her with the test, though. He's like, correct. And she's like, that's not right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well,
easy to outsmart however old she is.
I mean, it began to get a little weird when May is like, okay, you have to lie. Like, you can't go. Like, May is like, she's very.
Yeah. She's bossy.
Yeah, and possessive in a weird way. Like, it wasn't like, I love you. I couldn't stand to be separated from my twin. Please, like, take this vow with me. It was more like,
you have to do what I want.
You're doing. I mean, she definitely was. I mean, there was this other thing going on where, like the mothers don't agree, right?
Yeah, and, I kind of question though that part of her being so adamant and quote unquote nasty to her sister is also though too, because I think that up until the end we're also supposed to not know if she purposely killed everybody, because at least that was kind of how I felt, because obviously she did not. Well, I'm taking it that she started the fire, but she did not mean to hurt anybody. She may have said she was going to kill her sister, but I don't think she really wanted to kill her. I think she just wanted to burn the book, and she's a kid, and she did something stupid. That's what I think. Now, it's left open that you could interpret it different, but that's kind of how I interpreted it.
I took it the other way. Like, she was becoming more and more angry and jerky, like, about her sister, like, wanting to go, and she busts in the room. She's like, you can't leave. Oh, what are you gonna do about it? I'll kill you. That's what I'll do. And she grabs this. It's always so funny to me on Star Wars that, like, they can fly around and they can barely light anything except for like this weak ass little candle thing. And she purposely locks her sister in a room and sets the place on fire.
I guess I kind of take it that, like, because she's a kid, like, she didn't think through what she was doing. Like, she set the fire, and I think that she thought that she could scare her and force her to do it, and it obviously did not work out the way she thought. And I could be wrong too, because she did know she set the fire. I mean, it's not like she just burned it. I mean, she set the fire, but I don't know. They're young. It's hard to tell.
She's not a 4-year-old. She's at least like 9, right?
Yeah, but I mean, did she think, if I do this, it's going to not only kill my sister, it's going to kill my whole family and everybody I've ever met?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think she thought it through, because she looks scared at the end where she's like, like, Osha, like, she's like, you're not here. Like, I don't think she really thought it would kill her. I think she thought she'd scare her. I think that it was stupid, but yeah, I don't know.
I think she meant to kill her. I think she meant to kill her. Now, does a child that, like, I don't think she's young enough that she didn't. I think she meant to kill her, but you could make an argument that a child of that age doesn't really understand what it means to kill a person. Right?
True.
Like, that's
why I'm saying, like, I feel like maybe she more meant to scare the shit out of her, not that she necessarily thought through it really would kill her. Like, in that moment, she might have wanted to kill her, but I just don't think she really thought it through.
So it's like, what, involuntary manslaughter instead of a murder, right? Basically, is what we're talking about. I mean, I think she meant it.
Well, it's still, it's still murder, but I mean, you're right. She's still, whatever, 9,
But
10.
She should be charged as a juvenile and sent to a juvenile facility. Yeah. I think she meant it. And then it comes down to this moment where, she ends up. I also think that she might be old enough to understand that when you set a fire and it becomes like, these are the things that could happen. Like, how old do you have to be to know, like, don't set a fire in the house outside your sister's bedroom, right? Like, how hard is it to, like, she's like 9 or 10, right? They're not babies.
No, it's true.
Like, she's
old.
But
wasn't she? I'm trying to remember though. In this scene, she was trying to get back with her sister, though, wasn't she?
No, one kept running away up the stairs, and the other one was chasing her. Right?
Okay, that's what I couldn't remember. And Ark says she's a psychopath. Yeah, that's a good. description. She's definitely a psychopath. whether she wanted them all dead or not,
I
we don't know,
agree. I
but
think
she's
I
definitely a
agree. I think she wanted to kill her sister. And look, now she's going around hunting down people who she holds responsible who are not responsible.
Oh, now she definitely is murdering people. I just don't think she, at the very least, I don't think she meant to kill her mothers and everybody else there.
Yeah,
and then-
okay. I don't feel sorry for her.
no, I
Like,
don't either. I don't either.
I mean,
But yeah,
she set that fire on purpose. She killed everyone, and now she can't take responsibility for it, and she's blaming it on the Jedi showing up. She's blaming it on the Jedi and her sister. Like, she's taking zero responsibility for having
yeah,
done this,
that's
right?
why I kind of want to see what happened between now and
I just want to
between
show
this point and the rest of it. And who knew that Wookiee had like blue in their skin? Do you see like the scalp? There's like blue.
I know, and he like
That was
shaved
pretty
his
cool.
scalp and has like a man ponytail or a Wookiee ponytail up there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think she is a really, I mean, I kind of inclined to agree that she's a psychopath. She takes no responsibility.
Yeah, she's definitely a psychopath.
You know, her like, she killed everyone she knew. She's, I mean, I guess it's psychologically hard for you to accept that you killed your entire family and everyone you ever met.
But if that's the case, you don't go and like track down other people to kill.
And she's like,
if she's not a psychopath.
This
right?
is knowing this is begging the question of like why that Jedi is meditating for 10 years and commits suicide so easily, because they really don't bear responsibility for that.
Yeah, that I was gonna say that one that was meditating, that was that younger Padawan, right? Was
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a picture. It's where is he? He's in.
Yeah, that's why I feel like we're missing something. Like, why does he blame himself? Because they left and didn't go back for the girl? Is that supposed to be the reason why they're blaming themselves? It's not clear yet.
That because if they'd never gone, I mean, that's kind of their jam, as they go around and they find like
maybe if they had tried to force them to let them take them.
He's that guy in the corner in the way back in this picture, right?
Yeah.
Because there's Carrie-Ann Moss.
Which at least she was in it again for a bit.
Yep. And Soul and the young and that meditation guy and the Wookiee are the four that she's trying to kill.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know why that guy. Also, he's the youngest. Like he's the Padawan. He really had little. Like he didn't decide to go there and let's get this kid, right?
Yeah, that's why. Like I feel like we're missing something, but I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out. But so I'm liking the current theory of Arc that she's just a psychopath.
Yep, that's the answer to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we got one more thing to talk about. The Lazarus Project.
Have not seen yet. I did not have, no, I had too many screeners to watch. I just have not have time. I will catch up. I swear. I promise. I do want to see it. I just haven't had time.
I thought it was really good this week, and I guess I don't want to spoil it for you, but you know, I will. I mean, I guess I'll say what I said to AJ when I texted him. Like, George continues to be just the worst, and George did a thing this week that is maybe the stupidest thing I've ever seen any person on any science fiction show do ever. And I don't want to spoil things, but Jamie, if you went into a sciencey place that you didn't understand, would you just start flipping switches?
Not unless you're the doctor, because you have to touch the button, right?
Yes. If you're not the doctor, do you go into the TARDIS and start flipping switches, right?
Yeah.
He's the worst. He's the worst. He's the worst. And I am really liking. You saw season 1, right?
No, I saw part of season 1.
I'm really like Sarah. That's not a good picture of her, is it?
She's got an odd look on her face,
right? Like
this is boring. That's kind of the look she's got.
That's better. You know, she was George's girlfriend, and I mean, you saw the beginning.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, because that was the whole thing.
And she's like getting her back as the driving force of his entire life. He's the Jason of this show.
Which apparently he gets her back, I'm guessing, although they still could be rewinding time for all I know. So,
well, they're always rewind, like every episode time gets rewound, but
okay.
I thought she was kind of supporting character. I wasn't super in favor of what they've done with her in the beginning of the season, and in this episode, I was like, oh my god, George is even more the worst. Like just every time I think George can't be more selfish and horrible. And meanwhile, we have scientists who are like doing really bad shit, like making time machines for the Chinese and sending little kids back in time and shit to like, this is the time machine. Like
that must be a not.
That's a behind the scenes shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say camera.
Yeah.
Cool.
So TNT does not make very many photos. They're making like no photos available. I had to go to like on the TNT press site. There's nothing from season 2, and I have to go to like Sky TV where it already ran in England.
Are you on Warner? Because some of them that might be since they changed it. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm on Warner. So but because it's already over in England, you can kind of get stuff from
That makes sense.
But this is behind the scenes shot that I was like, but like even like bad science guys are like not as bad as freaking George. He is the worst.
Yeah, I know. I keep seeing your texts. George is so annoying. George is so annoying.
Like Rebrov, who was like a terrorist trying to blow up a nuclear bomb last year, is better than George.
Okay.
And the boss, who was keeping all sorts of shady secrets that we don't know what they are, is not as bad because George is stupid and selfish, right? And that is the worst kind of person on a show.
Sure, that's the point, though. But yeah,
in my life, stupid and selfish people can't help it, but we don't have access to like black holes, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So I thought it was good. I don't know if anybody who's listening to us tonight is watching it. I wish I could recap it a little harder because I thought it was really good this week.
I mean, you can recap it if you want. I can go out. I just figured you don't want to talk to yourself.
No, I don't want to talk to myself. Okay. If there was one person here, I would. But AJ will be back, and we'll just whip it into like the 2 episodes together next week.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. The only thing I was going to say is I was trying to see the dates of things. I have my list of my dates. A couple things that I have seen for various interviews. The one show I wanted to talk about, and I can't review it yet so I can't really say too much. I will just say that because the reviews are embargoed, although I'm not sure why, but I will just say I really liked it. And since it's based on a book, I can talk a little bit about it because clearly, the book is the book. It's called, I had not even heard of it until I found the press for it, found out about the interviews and stuff, but it's called My Lady Jane, and it's based on a book by, I'm going to say the wrong person's name. Let me hold on 1 second. Let me look up the author's name before I say that and screw it up. It's under writers, cast and crew, writing credits. There we go. By Cynthia Hand, and she actually has quite a few different books like this, but basically it's the story of Jane Grey, Lady Jane Grey, but like it's twisted history. It's like what happened if she wasn't beheaded, and is sort of where it spins off from. But it's so funny, and it's sort of got like I don't know, almost like a Monty Python vibe a little bit, maybe. It's a romance, and it's a comedy, and it's got some sort of sci-fi-ish elements in it. Well, maybe you'd more say fantasy because it's got some sort of magic-y things. It's like sort of fantasy / sci-fi. But it's really good. I really liked it. I said to them, I probably shouldn't admit it, but I sort of watched all 8 episodes at once. Since I can't really, review it yet, I'll just say I like it, and I think that's allowed. But that's coming out, I believe, the 27th. I want to say. Looking for the picture. Because the poster thing should have a date on it, and of course it's so tiny I can't see it on my phone. Yeah, the 27th. Okay, that's coming out. But anyway, my point is, I found out because I downloaded the book. This author, she has like, it's not just I shouldn't say she, there's like 3 people that actually I think wrote the book from what I got out of it. But there's like one that's like on Jane Eyre, and there's like one that's on like Mary Shelley and Ada Lovelace, that's about that. And then they're like all these different like women in history, or well, Jane Eyre, it isn't necessarily, I wouldn't consider that, but you know what I mean. They're like sort of twisted and changed, and feminine heroes, and it's just really good. I really liked it. I'm kind of excited to talk about it. I know it's not what we necessarily usually talk about, but I really enjoyed it. And that's the 27th. And then, of course, the other thing coming soon is the Arc.
Well, and Orphan Black starts next Sunday.
Orphan Black is first, yeah. Orphan Black is starting next week, which it is. You said it's Monday, so we'll talk about the.
It's Sunday. It's this Sunday.
Okay, Sunday. So we'll talk about the premiere then on Tuesday when we come back. Yeah. Like I've said before about Orphan Black, the new Orphan Black, I really liked it. It is a little slow starting out. I don't know if I feel like part of it may be because we're coming in as viewers. Like I don't know, like I see it as a fan of Orphan Black, so new viewers may feel differently about it. I don't know. I felt like it started a little slow to kind of get into the meat of the story, but it is connected to the other story. I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil anything, but
I would say
future.
I would say to anybody who's listening that you do not have to have seen the original Orphan Black to watch this show. No. And don't let that stop anyone from watching this, because it's connected, but loosely, I understand, and you don't really need to.
No, I mean, it's nice to have seen the show, and I think that you'll get more out of it having seen the original, but you definitely don't have to. But yeah, I mean, I still like the original better, but I don't think that's necessarily a huge surprise. It's not going to be, the phenomenon necessarily that was, but it's good. It's just it is a lot like the original. There's a lot going on. So
all right, we will begin to evaluate that on next week's show. We'll have a busy show next week with that overlapping, but it's the finale of
Doctor Who. Yeah,
Doctor Who. So we'll be able to drop that afterwards and make better use of our time. Not better use. Have more time. We'll never
pay more attention to how long we do each show, considering we took like 45 minutes on Doctor.
We'll have a little more discipline.
Yeah, well, AJ's here to tell us to shut up too, so
yeah,
we'll be here. So, alrighty. Anything? I'm trying to think anything else. The other stuff I watched wasn't really sci-fi or fantasy at all related. So, one was horror and one was comedy. So that doesn't really.
Yeah, I have a lot of work to do. So no time. So all right.
Okay. Well, we'll talk.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. As always, you can leave us comments. Let us know what you liked, didn't like, what you want to hear about, what you want us to talk about, what you think about the shows. We'd love to hear from you. We're glad. Thank you to Arc, who is always giving us her comments of what she thinks. We appreciate it.
Yep. And thanks to NDB Media for hosting us here on the network. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks as always. And we'll be back next week.
All right. Good night.
We stayed under 2 hours. We did pretty good.
Just made it.
Not quite. Yeah, we just made it. All right. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I will end the stream. Goodbye.